Here's something that might surprise you. While the rest of Canada is watching the housing market stumble and stall, Moncton just delivered quietly something that no one expected. Talked about it last month, but we are seeing a balanced market where both buyers and sellers can win. But there's a catch. That window might be closing faster than you think. And if you have been sitting on the sidelines waiting to buy, that perfect moment might have already passed. I'm Brioux, and in the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to break down exactly what is happening in Moncton's housing market and why this matters for your decision, whether you're buying your first home, upsizing for your growing family, or downsizing. And most importantly, what you might want to do right now to position yourself for success. So grab a coffee and a comfortable chair, and let's dive into the numbers that everyone's talking about, but it doesn't seem like there's a full explanation. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, my name is Brioux, and I'm a realtor here in Moncton, New Brunswick. Every month, I break down the local market data. It's not hype, it's not fear, it's just facts. So you can make informed decisions about one of the biggest financial moves in your life. Today, we are unpacking the September 2025 data, and I've got the full CREA board report, as well as some supporting data, and I've crunched some numbers myself to show you some charts. So we are going to cover what the months of supply really means for your negotiating power, why price reductions are concentrated above $400,000, which neighborhoods are hot and which neighborhoods are soft, and where some opportunities might be hiding, and how all of this could fit into the bigger picture across Canada. And if you're serious about buying or selling in the Greater Moncton area, you can book a free strategy call with me by using the first link down in the description. All right, let's get into it. So let's start with a headline. September 2025 delivered a balanced market in Moncton, similar to the previous month. This month, we're sitting at 4.6 months of inventory. Now, if you're not familiar with what that means, months of supply tells us how long it would take to sell all of the active listings at the current pace of sales. If we're looking at under 3 to 4 months, that's seller's market territory, and prices tend to go up and bidding wars happen and buyers seem to scramble. More than 5.5, 6 months, that's buyer's market territory. And we often see prices soften and sellers are willing to negotiate a bit more. And that 4 to 6 months of inventory, that's balanced. Neither side is really overwhelming with power. And right now, we are at 4.6 months of inventory. But here's what's interesting. That number doesn't really tell us the whole story of what's going on, because when you dig into the data at different price ranges in different neighborhoods, you start to see the market split up a bit. Under $400,000, it still feels like a seller's market. Over $500,000, buyers do have some leverage and we are seeing negotiations. So let me show you what I mean. And new listings came in at 457 units, which is also up from last month. So we are seeing more homes hit the market and more buyers close deals. But here's the kicker. Active inventory is at 1,371 units, which is up about 17% year over year. More choice for buyers tends to mean more negotiating power, and we're seeing that play out in the pricing trends that I'm going to show you. Now, let's talk about speed, because one of the questions I get asked consistently is how long will my home sit on the market, or how fast do I need to act to find the right property? One thing is for certain, homes that are priced accurately are selling quick, and they're selling in less than a month. So what does that mean for you? If you're a seller, you've heard me say this every month this year. Price your house right from the start. And if you don't have feedback or an offer within the first 2 weeks, you're going to want to ask for that market data and look at price. And it sits overpriced, you'll be looking at sitting on the market for 54 days or potentially longer. And eventually, you might want to consider a price reduction. So if you're a buyer and you found the right home, don't wait. The well-priced homes will not last. They are moving quickly. All right, so this went over really well last month. Let me zoom into specific neighborhoods, because Greater Moncton is quite large when we're talking about it in real estate board terms. Moncton North, for example, is hot. Months of supply is sitting around 1.8 months. And if you remember my definition from before, that is a seller's market. Homes are moving fast and we are still seeing some multiple offers. The median days sold for properties in Moncton North is actually the lowest in the city right now. Also, if you are a buyer with flexibility, you might want to consider that Shediac might offer a better value and potentially less competition right now. So the takeaway here is simple. Don't make decisions based on the market. Make your decisions based on your market that you're looking at, including your price range, your neighborhood, and of course, the specific goals that you have. I will throw up on the screen here a quick affordability calculator. This is a tool that I have. You can use it for free. There is no email sign up. All the information is displayed on screen. It takes some simple data displayed, and you can see a range for your inputted data of a home that might make sense for your budget. Let's talk about leverage. One of the clearest ways to see who has power in negotiation is to look at how many homes are selling relative to the list price. In September, here's the breakdown. 19% of homes sold over asking, 24% sold at asking, and 57% of homes sold under the asking price. I will let that sink in for a moment. More than half of all transaction closed were below the list price, and that tells you that buyers are negotiating or sellers are simply willing to accept the offer. So the market seems to be rewarding realistic pricing. Now, that doesn't mean that every home is negotiable. In Moncton North, a home under $400,000, you are much more likely to see at or an over ask sale. But in Shediac, as I mentioned, above $500,000, I'm sure that there could be some negotiations in there. So if you're a buyer, don't be afraid to ask your realtor, look at the data, and understand what makes sense for your offer strategy, especially if the home has been on the market for more than 45 days, or if it's already been reduced once. So use the data at your leverage. All realtors have access to this data. If you are a seller, understand that the days of list high and negotiate down are over. In most price ranges, you need to price competitively from day one, or you could be chasing down the market with price reductions as you go through your sale process. Now, this one shocked me. I wanted to talk to you about the homes that didn't sell because this is where we really see some of the pain points in the market. So for this period, I analyzed 96 expired listings, meaning that they hit the end of their listing agreement without a sale. 84 were canceled, meaning the seller decided to pull the listing before their contract had ended. And 43 were withdrawn, which mean that they came off market for some reason or another. So that is 223 failed listings. Now, that's not necessarily bad, but sometimes sellers pull their listings for their circumstances because they change. They decide that they want to renovate. They decide that maybe they were overpriced and they want to take some time and reset, all of which are great. But in many cases, these are homes that have sat too long, they got stale, and they didn't attract buyers. The lesson here is clear. Pricing matters. Marketing matters. Timing matters. If you are working with a realtor who might just throw the house on MLS at your price and hopes for the best, that might not be the best strategy to get the result that you're looking for. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but in today's market, looking at the data, strategy matters and marketing matters and your positioning matters. You need a strategic approach. So pricing based on the recent comparable solds, professional photography, video, and even staging, which could include decluttering, and a plan to adjust if the market doesn't respond is absolutely critical in today's market. All right, so let's zoom out here because what's really happening in Moncton doesn't exist in a vacuum. The Canadian housing market is in the middle of a major reset. On paper, affordability is improving. The overnight rate is down to 2.5%, and home ownership costs are back up to 2021 levels. And prices are slipping in many markets. But the problem is that confidence is broken. The job openings fell 4.2% month over month. Construction vacancies plunged 14.3% in a single month. And that's not the stat that you should be worried about. There are more Canadians on EI than ever, about 550,000. There are 460,000 jobs posted. And when people are worried about their job security, don't make million-dollar decisions. They wait. It's simple. They save, they hope that things will stabilize, and that is creating weird paradox around Canada. Rates are lower, prices are seeming to be softer, and affordability does appear better on paper, but confidence is so low that people don't seem to be acting on it. Meanwhile, the pre-sale engine out west is still sputtering. The GTA condos, there's a lot. They were down about 42% year over year and 81% below the 10-year average in sold new construction condos. In Vancouver, equally as bad. The builders are finishing what's in the ground, but they're not launching any new projects. And that means that we are setting up for a delayed impact of shortage in later decades in that condo market. And even as today, the prices grind lower, reduce that part. And on top of that, this one is for my investor friends. My pal, Mortgage Pug, has talked a lot about it the last few weeks, but OFC, the regulator for finance in 2026, will be changing their capital rules, and they're going to make it harder for small investors to qualify for multiple mortgages. What they are doing is they're going to stop investors I'll translate that. The leverage is going to get harder for the little guy. And while institutions like REITs and pension funds and private equity do face fewer practical constraints, the rental market is professionalizing, and the path to wealth building via real estate for the middle class seems to be getting a little bit more narrow. So here's the big picture. Moncton is insulated. There are opportunities. They are not immune from the new rules that are going to come in 2026. But from where I'm sitting, small mom and pop investors do have a greater opportunity in the Moncton market than in some markets in Western Canada. What do I mean? Our prices didn't spike as much as Toronto and Vancouver during the boom, and they are still significantly cheaper. Our job market does appear to be a bit more stable, and we are still seeing consistent demand from people who are relocating from higher cost markets to ours. But we are not immune. If the national economy weakens further, if job losses accelerate, if confidence doesn't return, we will absolutely feel the hit here as well. All right, so what does this mean for you? Again, if you are a buyer, this could be the one window you've been waiting for. You were sitting out, now you're ready, shoot your shot. The target neighborhoods with higher months of supply like Shediac might be what you should consider or hone in on, where the sellers seem to be cutting prices and willing to negotiate. So don't be afraid to work with your realtor and create an offer that makes sense, structured with the data that you found, especially if the property's been on the market for more than 40 days. And if you've been pre-approved and you're financially stable, this is your moment. I do often get comments from people that say, I want to buy a house and I can't. I do have a lot of videos and education around that idea of mindset and paths that you could take. Now, with some of the mortgage products that are available, as well as government programs and accounts, now seems to be like an amazing opportunity if you have been sitting on the sidelines. If you're a seller, if you're in Moncton North and have a home that's worth around $400,000, look at the comps and price it accordingly. And know that if you overprice, you could be forced to reduce it within the first few weeks. If you're above $500,000, you need to be realistic from day one. If there are renos needed, they might need to be done, or incorporate that into your price. The data shows that 40% of listings in that range have a reduced price, and the median cut was $25,000. So by working with your realtor who understands the market and the micro market, you can work together and price competitively. And the bonus will be they will have a marketing plan to roll out to maximize the exposure that you get. And for everybody else who is just watching the trends, next month, I will be tracking whether new listings stay elevated, whether reduction share in the 400,000 band continues. If you found this update helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because each week I do put out a video. And if you do have a specific question about your unique situation, you can contact me down in the first link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.